Well, there are other examples, and you can think of, this is just kidding, you start playing with names in the computer and you find funny things. If you look for Coca-Cola with a K here instead of a C, it is registered, and somebody put somebody there. Actually, you don't know if they are profiting. Well, one other way of profiting, not actually residual traffic, but also getting traffic from some service, is registering a domain that is similar to the original, but is what somebody would mistakenly may type. For instance, Google with 3 O's. This is already registered by Google, because Google are very clever. They do things very well. We're going to see that there is a web page in Wikipedia with all the domains registered by Google, the Google company. They register google.com, obviously, google.any country that you can imagine, .es, .whatever, and Google with 3 O's, Google with 1 O, Google with EL at the end. I mean, all the kind of mistypings that somebody can happen to type are registered by Google. So that's a clever thing to do, but it takes a lot of work and some money in some cases. But you know, bebacoca-cola.com, you know, and this does not belong to Coca-Cola. Okay, but somebody, yes.
Well, I can imagine that this is not a domain name infringement, but isn't this at least a trademark infringement?
Yep, yeah, can be.
So
if
it's
you
not
take
like
this,
you can't do anything.
you cannot do anything with Coca-Cola. I mean, this is kind of tricky. So if you go to court, it can be a kind of a trade name infringement. Yes. So this is why I told you that domain names and trade names are the same cousins. You know, belong to the same family. There are issues which are quite similar. Well, in this fashion, you can find Coca-Cola with 2 Ks here, Bebe Coca-Cola. Some are registered, some are not. If they're not registered, you can register yourself and get money. Drinkcoca-cola.com. Google with 3 O's belong to Google, but some others may not. This patata.com has nothing to do with infringement, but it's funny sometimes when I have free time. I don't have free time very often, but you can write anything that you think. Yeah, patata.com. So somebody registered patata.com is not using it for anything. Just they pretend they want to sell it. So this web page is for sale, but they took the effort, they took the work to put some images, some patatas, to make it more appealing. So if you want to buy this, you're not going to buy this for 10 euros. So they may say, oh no, patata.com can be the name of a new meal company, some fast food chain that you can profit a lot. So I want, I don't know, 10,000 euros for patata.com. So whatever thing funny that you find, add.com, and you will sometimes find that the thing registered by somebody. So there are plenty of these domains which are not actually used but are registered because somebody thinks they may have a potential. Then, for instance, this is another thing, and there's nothing illegal with this, but there are several newspapers called, for instance, El País, which is a Spanish newspaper. And there are other names of French newspapers which have their siblings around the world. There are other papers, other companies, completely different, but you have El País.es, which is the Spanish version. ElPaís.com is the same, and the 2 domains are registered by the same, but El País.com UE is from Uruguay, and it's a very famous newspaper there, and .com.co is from Colombia, and there are a couple more. So you look for El País newspaper, there are several. Well, this is just a coincidence, companies with the same name, and sometimes you find that the biggest or most worldwide famous is the one that gets the .com domain, and the rest have a local domain. Okay? And there's nothing illegal with that. And in this case, it's very difficult that one of these can get the domain of the other, because that domain is used in a fair way. Okay, talking about domains or URLs. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, which is what you write to find something in a web browser. It's basically the domain followed by directories and files. So this is as a practical tip you may know already. Sometimes the uniform resource locator, the URL of some service, is very long. For instance, Google Maps. If you sometimes try to pass some link to a Google map that you find to a friend or whatever using WhatsApp or wherever, you find that the Google map URL is something very long, like 2, 3, 4 lines of code that gives the correct reference to the map and the place that you are standing at. So for this purpose, there are some services called URL shorteners. Google has its own. This belongs to Google, but they call it goo.gl. It's a funny way, but it's a shortener. One that is very popular is bit.ly, and there are tinyurl.com. There are several of these. So what you do with this is you connect to this website, you paste the very long URL, and you get a shorter one. And the shorter one is the one that you can send by Twitter, or because it's short. Twitter has a limitation. It used to be 140 characters, now it is a little bit more. The length of a tweet. It used at the beginning was 140, and then they raised it to something more, but not much more. So if you want to write something and you want to paste a very long URL, you cannot. So you use these shorteners to get a very short version. Why am I showing this? Because it's useful if you don't know it, and also to explain how it works. Because there is a trick behind URL shorteners, which is called redirection. Redirection works this way. When you paste a long URL into this, I'm going to connect to one of these, bit.ly for instance, so that you see it. When you paste a long URL to one of these services, the service automatically, so you come here and you paste a very, very long URL, and you automatically are given a very small one, usually 6, 7 characters after the name of the bit.ly or goo.gl. Okay, which is very, very easy to transmit. But how it works? This company stores your original URL and the new URL, which is unique, that they give to you. Okay, the question is, how long are they going to do this? Don't know. You don't know. And how it works? It works like when the receiver of the URL, the short URL, clicks on it or puts it on the web browser. The web browser connects to this company, and this company redirects automatically to the longer URL. This takes time. Okay, it doesn't take a long time. I mean, it's a very practical thing, but it takes a split second. You know, it takes a little bit. So it's not the fastest way. You're working with redirection. The concept of redirection is that you connect to some place that redirects you to some other place. It happens many times. Many times companies, when they change the domain or change the web page, program some redirections in their own servers. So sometimes you connect to, well, in the case of Google with 3 O's, you connect to Google with 3 O's, which is wrongly written, and it gets redirected to google.com automatically. And if you connect to google.com and if you are in Spain, you are redirected to google.es. They don't want you to connect to google.com if you are in a local place. So those are redirections. So whenever you write an address and the page is changed to some other address and you see that the address changes, there is a redirection. These shorteners are based on redirection. So the two problems with redirections are, it takes a little bit of time, so it's a little bit slower than connecting directly. I wouldn't ever write a shortened URL in a web page because it takes more time and because you never know how long it lasts. Just imagine that next month bit.ly disappeared, they close it. They think, well, this is not business, we want to close. All those redirections will not work. And also, they keep collecting redirections. So this is a mapping system, a database with redirections. But even if the company continues working, how long are they going to maintain that? 6 months? 6 years? You may get a point that they say, well, we're going to claim this because we have plenty of redirections and some are very old and nobody uses. So they may have a policy. If nobody connects to some redirected address for 1 year, they delete it. They don't actually say. I tried to find out many times, but I don't know. So well, now you know the concept of redirection based on domains. So the idea of Mocapetris was that we are able to write something that we can remember, like google.com or whatever, elcorteingles.es, and we get a service without having to remember IPs. And then we can also, within that domain, find folders and files and other services. And we can also redirect to something else. So this is how domains work, basically. Okay, there are also URL unshorteners, but this has no use at all. I mean, an unshortener is the opposite service. Is that you write a shortened URL and you get the original one, but if you just write the short URL in the browser, you get the original one automatically. You're the director. So I don't really see the purpose of unshorteners, but there are anyway. Well, more things about domains. I could be talking for hours about domain, but I want to show you more. There are places like Ripe.net that you can find information about people. It's amazing in some cases, all the information that you can get about somebody else on the web. I remember a professor I knew, now he's retired in Britain, had a server at home, at his home. So once I was trying one of these services, I usually teach these things, and put his server name, and it gave me his name, but also his door address. So somebody, for instance, if there was some kind of hate or terrorist problem, somebody could get to his server and find in one of those searchers the name of his door, the address of his house. So, well, it's funny if you want. Take a look, even with your name. Sometimes it's funny to see that the web collects a lot of information. Sometimes you write your name and it appears that 5 years ago you applied to some kind of a position somewhere in some town, and everything is there. Some data should not be public. You know, there is a law that limits that, but even there are breaches. I mean, people that do not protect data. So there is plenty of data. Well, in this web page, you find the list of Google domains. I'm not going to enter now because of time, but you're going to find that Google has hundreds of domains registered, even for Google itself, because Google has several companies. You are going to find that it has YouTube and many others. But you have Google.es, Google.r, Google for every country that you can imagine, plus some mistypings. Also, there is a very interesting page, nothing to do with domains, but a very interesting page on the list of Google products. It's a very long list of all the products that Google has and had before. Google, like many other companies, big companies, Apple, Microsoft, buy other companies and try to enhance or continue their own projects, like they bought YouTube, for instance. They bought also the very popular operating system, the Android. Android was not developed by Google, as people believe, but it was bought. It was a small company, and the development was finished by Google, but they bought the idea and they bought the original design. And it's a very long list, but you also find that they buy some things that they discard. There are services that Google had, and they were discarded, they were not successful. So they are successful only in a few of them, very successful, but they buy 10 and they get one successful. So it's interesting to see how they work. Well, this is another funny thing. There are microstate domains. Microstates is small country. In some cases, those countries are not actually legally recognized country or are in the process of being legally recognized, but somehow they get a domain. One of the cases, and you can find in the Wikipedia, is the Tokelau, the .tk domain. The .tk domain is one of the domains that many people can very cheap, even freely. You can freely get a TK domain. So you can, for instance, have your name, alejandrovilla.tk, and register for free. If it's not of marketing value, if they find that something has some marketing value, potential may charge something, but you can get domains for free. Tokelau is a small island in the Pacific, really small island with a very little population. I'm not sure if they have internet, but if they have, it should be satellite internet. But they got a domain, a country domain, and the domain is run by a company in San Francisco. Obviously, they don't have all the facilities. Tokelau is a very small. It's interesting to see because it's a funny case. You see the pictures in the Pacific, a small island. But there is a company that handles, sells, or give for free those domains. Many people have .tk domains. There are some other funny domains. I don't remember now, but some domains like some word. There is one .tv that sounds like television, but it's not. And some people get those names because the word has some funny meaning. .info, whatever. And so this is part of the story around domains. This one of Sealand is, in Spanish we would say rocambolesco for short, because it's an incredible story. I'm going to connect to this one, because this is really, really, really funny. The Principality of Sealand, which is in the process of becoming a country, they may not get it, but they've asked for it, is this that you see here. Oh, sorry. So this is a Principality of Sealand. It's not land, it's not water, it's just a metal platform very close to Britain. There is a family that bought a metal platform in the North Sea that originally belonged to the military, the Air Force or the Marines in Britain. It has the size of a soccer field. Not much more. And in the Second World War was used for anti-aircraft measures. But then it wasn't used and they bought it. So they started doing things with this, plenty of things. Funny things. It's very interesting. The article is interesting because it's funny. Rocambolesco, we would say, really. They used this to install a pirate radio. So a radio that was this is very close to Britain, so if they transmit radio from there, it's going to be listened in Britain, but they pay no taxes, they pay nothing. Because it's no country. I mean, this is in the process of becoming a country. They issue passports. I mean, the residents here are 2 or 3 people that take care of the thing. Not even the owners. The owners live in Britain. And the owners got their own, being given the degree of Prince of Sealand and whatever. It's a royal family. They became by themselves a royal family. Yeah, really. So they had a pilot radio. They had they issued passports, and people could travel with Sealand passport, although they never lived there. Once, this is really funny. Once, kind of pirate from the Dutchland, from Holland, went there with a Zodiac and a couple of military. How do you say this? Higher military mercenaries, and got very easily got hold of the platform, and then they had to negotiate. Britain was about to get into the thing, but this is not their territory, so they could not. So they conquered the island, and they got paid some money and left well, it's not an island, and then the family got control of the thing again. They tried to build a data haven, and this is an interesting business and an interesting issue as well. A data haven is a very big set of computers for storing data, with some advantages, because this is a country that is no country or follows no law, so they promise to confidentiality, I mean an encryption, so you could store your data. Imagine those corrupt people, criminals, drug traffickers could store data. They need data. I mean, criminals, maybe criminals, but they need data. They need to have their B accounts somewhere. They cannot remember everything. So instead of having the data in their computers, they had some place where they could pay for data. Well, the business did not work, but they have a domain name, and you can buy the domain name. But it's a good example of how the world works in some aspects, and it gives you some idea of how things like domain are traded. This is related to the internet somehow, because the data haven business and the domain selling was also part of this. We're not going to do this here. We don't have time, so not all of you have computers, but there are some command line commands in Windows and in Linux that allows you to see what your IP address is and get information about your network. Perhaps the most popular are ping, and ping works in all computers that I know, and that you have a command line that you can write a command. And ipconfig is in Windows. If you write ipconfig/all, you get information about your network, and this gives you information about your local IP. I mean the IP within the local network. Many other things, if you're using DHCP, many technical things about your computer connection. And ping is an interesting command because you can use it. The original idea of ping is to touch a computer in the network and see if the computer was acting. The ping command was meant for troubleshooting. I can connect to my server, and if my server, if it replies, well, I know it's alive, because sometimes servers are inactive. And the good thing of the ping command is if you write ping an IP address, the computer may reply. Sometimes the servers have ping deactivated, so they may be silent even if you ping them. But if you write ping and the IP address, you get a reply, and also you see the speed in milliseconds that it takes for the server to reply. But if you write ping with a domain name, you're given back the IP address. So ping is a good command to know what's the IP address of a server. You can write ping www.ua.es and you get the IP address. There are other ways to do this. You can do it with the browser. Yes?
So these commands, if you type it on your computer, it's in order to
get information.
To get information and to solve any problem that you have.
You can configure things with this, but that's when you have some experience or you're kind of computer geek, you can use some of these commands also to solve or to tune some problems. But basically to get information. And it says what it says. It gives you the information that is said here. I haven't talked about the MAC address. We are short of time, but it's an important concept also. Every network card, and when I say every network card, I mean network cards that connect either through cable or radio, like Wi-Fi or other means, have a unique number. This number is supposed to be unique in the world. Okay, so when your computer connects through Wi-Fi, the network card has a number. It's a kind of long code that identifies your computer. Hackers can do tricks with this and show a number that is not actually their own, so that they're not recognized. But this is one of the main ways we've seen today that IP allow external people to know where you are with a certain range. Maybe the city, maybe they get to know that you're within the University of Alicante, but not actually where you are. Or in the case of a court trial, an IP cannot assure that it's you that's been doing something, or your computer that's been doing something, but the MAC address identifies your computer. So if you do something wrong, for instance, to put an example, and they associate that with your MAC address, well, it may not be you, but it was your computer. So they shorten the possibilities. And MAC numbers are used nowadays for several things. This is another field. It doesn't have to do very much with the talk of today. This is much related to computer crime. But it's good for you to know that apart from IPs, apart from domain names, every network card has a MAC number. It's like the identity plate of the card. If you have a computer that has both cable, wired connection, and Wi-Fi connection, it has two MAC numbers because it has two different cards. Those numbers are unique. And nowadays they use this for several things. I mean, when you go with your mobile, there are some programs in your mobile that use a kind of sound beacon. I mean, you can download some app from the App Store, and the app may have inside some program, tricky program, that is listening to your microphone. And when the program gets some ultrasound beacon that you do not hear, it's a very, very high frequency sound, it activates the program. And then the program, the Wi-Fi server nearby may know who you are. They use that for marketing purposes. In some cases, if you have the app of some company, whichever company, and you go to the shop, they know it's you. They may even do that so that you pass by an ad and the ad changes and shows you something that they know that you like. They can do things like that. And they're going to do a lot much more like this in the future. And these graphics explain how the ultrasonic beacons can be used for commercial purposes. They have been used also for police purposes. And they did this in Miami to track criminals that got into the airport with their mobiles and then track them through the city. They were able to know basically, not all the time, but where they are. To the level, not of blocks or long distances, to the level of a shop. I mean, they were able to know that you were in a shop or that you were, okay. So the ultrasound beacon works in a proximity of meters. And also they use a Wi-Fi combined with this. So this is used for tracking.